Guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video we're going through the Carlton vs Bulldogs game, and it again was a close game that just didn't really have the skills in it that probably should have. A game that had the prime time Friday night time slot should have had. So I mean, in the end, Carlton fall to 0-3, Western Bulldogs 2-1, even through their injuries, so they definitely. And it's also hard to say whether Western Bulldogs are good or whether they're just playing horrific sides, because they played Collingwood, who we expect to go up the ladder. They played Carlton here, and who did they play in round one? I forget who they played, but I swear they had an easier game in round one. So they're 2-1, they're looking all right. Let's just check who did they play in round one whilst we skip over into this. So in round one, they played North Melbourne, who North Melbourne looked all right, but then also North Melbourne are 1-1. So they've played sort of three sides I expect to be in the 10 to 15 range, alongside themselves almost in a way, now that the season's started. But anyway, Carlton. Tom Koning, I think, is that ruck that goes ballistic and goes plus 20 on his average, which I believe was about 90 and 100. So across the two format splits. So yeah, he's going to go probably 110, 120 splits. I think he's averaging 123, 124 in fantasy at the moment. I think it's, let me just double check this actually. I can double check this. So he's averaging 123 in fantasy and Supercoach. It would be somewhere around the mark. I don't have Supercoach open at the moment, but let's just go into it anyway. Nothing's changed on the Supercoach front. You might see something change on the fantasy front just because of someone in particular. So he's gone 252 plus 133 is 385. 385 divided by 3 is 5 short of 130, which is 128 and a bit. So yeah, he's gone 123, 128 splits, which is hectic, and I forget who he has next week, but I'm pretty sure it's another calm matchup for him. He's got Collingwood next week, and they're going. Who did Collingwood go with last week in the ruck line? So yeah, he's got a pretty calm Mason Cox, and Darcy Cameron, but I'm pretty sure Mason Cox could be injured. I just need to double check that, but I'm not 100% sure, as he did get slapped in the face, or more than slapped, I should say. Let's just go to here and go to the injuries, because yeah, Tom De Koning could be almost a perma VC option. Like, he's doing that well. If we go to Collingwood, there's no injury concern for Mason Cox, even though he got punched in the face from that spoil. So yeah, he's fine. So De Koning probably not next week you can VC, but weeks after that you could, because he's going to do pretty well. George Hewitt has been a surprise package this year. I don't know what he's averaging, but it would be in the triple digits you would expect. He is averaging 112.3. That is huge, and he's just done really well. He's got 28 tackles in 3 weeks, but he's also gone 25, 28, 27 touches, and it sort of coincides him and Chera picking up the slack for a Sam Walsh being really, really poor. Even though Walsh ends up on an 80 and Paddy Cripps on an 80 as well. So this is the problem with Carlton, I feel like, this year, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to align with what I say with Port Adelaide, is when you have 4 or 5 midfielders all generally getting around the same CBAs and stuff like that. If you go to DFS, they can kind of go and one guy takes a good score this week, one guy takes it the next week and stuff like that. If we go to CBAs for the likes of Carlton here, and we go to here, and I think you'll see what I mean here. You've got Chera, Walsh, Hewitt, Cripps, all 4 of them doing really, really well. And then who was the last guy that sort of... Nope, it's just those guys. So yeah, all those guys doing really, really well in terms of getting the CBAs, because that's the obvious thing. De Koning as well, 91%. And you'd expect when this updates, and I can actually just give you the numbers off the CBA numbers, and so there was 23 goals. I believe one of them was kicked at the siren, but let me just double check. I don't know if there actually was. So there wasn't any goals kicked at the siren, so that means that there was 27 CBAs in total. And if I just go to here and add the CBAs involved here, then go to Advanced stats. Jaconing 23 out of 27. Kennedy, Cripps 20, Hewitt 19, Walsh 17, and Adam Chera 16. So Chera's still got that 16 out of 27. That's about 60% roll. Let me just double 16 divided by 27 is 59%. Walsh only slightly better. Walsh would be about 62, and then you've got Hewitt and Cripps around that 70 marker again, which, and then you've got TDK up there, and then Motlop with 4 again, so he's gotten around that, what would that be, 15% or so, 14% again, and Lewis Young to back up Ruckman, Fogarty in there a little bit, so these sort of mirror are around about what this is. Maybe Cripps is the only one that's probably gone a little bit, and it's shared between Walsh and Chera, but outside of that, no one else has really gotten in. Zach Williams as well didn't get in, which he was injured for half of it anyway. So that sort of just shows that the point that I'm trying to make is you've got 4 guys here. Those 4 guys are all going to split it up well, pretty well. And the problem is, and the stats back this up, is that a third midfielder struggles to get to 90. Now, if we're looking at here, and this is why I don't know about Chera, you've got Cripps, Hewitt, Walsh, Chera. Chera and Walsh are basically intertwined. So if one, and then the fourth midfielder struggles to get to like 85, 80 in terms of scoring, you can kind of see that occurring even with Carlton at the moment, is that you've got Cripps, Walsh, Chera, and then Hewitt at the moment. I expect Hewitt to drop away a little bit, but you've got all these guys struggling, and I think they're all just going to take points off each other, and they could all end up averaging between 90 and sort of 105 in a way, and they're all not even that relevant past like the cash generation made out of Chera, which is probably going to slow anyway here with this 83. So that's basically the whole of Carlton walked through, because Ollie Hollands did a shocker here, and they don't have any rookies because Jagger Smith did his ACL in pre-season. And Zach Williams out, which means that I expect Camporelli to come back in, but we know he's going to be sub because that's the way that Voss does it. Put it on the young guys rather than the old guys not turning up. Like, can we just also take a moment to look at Blake Acres' game? How the heck do you have 15 touches and go at 33%, 6 clangers? Like, 6 clangers. He also, 2 of them were from free kicks, admittedly, but what in the world was he doing? I don't know if you watched, and I put this in the chat as well, in the live stream chat as well, when he had 10 touches, and you just look at the disposal efficiency and you go, he's going at 20%. And his kicking efficiency was like 30% or something across the game. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was horrific. He is one of the worst ball users in the comp. Then we go over to Western Bulldogs. Libba has been a surprise pick, and maybe I want to pose this question. Do we overrate how long-term we see picks? Like, Libba has gone 120 from the start, I'm pretty sure. 120, 130 from the start. And this is something that I downplayed, being like, he's not going to be a good pick, right? 109, 108, 109, 142. He's made value. He's done his job, like, in a way. 37k. He started at about the same prices. He started at about 88 average, and he's gone 119 the first 3 games. He's going to go out of the blocks. He's going to go up to probably 980k with a break even now of, you'd expect another break even probably of about 40, 45. If he does it again, he'll be up about 130k plus. He's number 1, I think, number 1 or 2 in the season ranking for points. So he's just an interesting one, I would say, in terms of just, we just overlooked that midfield needing someone, and then we thought it would be Sanders that stepped up, whereas it's just Tom Liberatore is really, he's captaincy material, to be honest with you, and he stepped up big time. Davidson, and this is where the slight change will probably occur in terms of in terms of my trades, and I'm just going to do it here in front of you guys. The best way to actually do this, because AFL Fantasy has a little bit of a mind of its own. If we go here, you'll see this. We are looking for the cheap Warner brother, because I expect... Why? He's in the utility. Like, it shouldn't matter. Oh, you know what it's going to want? Oh, wait, 1 second. Let me just see if I can figure this out. Let's see if I can do this, because it may, well, not that one. It may want a dual position player, which isn't too hard to grab. If it doesn't want that, I can just grab a dual position cheapie and then swap it. Yeah, that's what we'll do. DPPs only. I need a mid forward. That's cheap. Let's just go to this. There, and then go... Where's a mid forward? Hugo Garcia, you can come back in, because surely this will work. And then Hugo Garcia to Warner, because that's sort of the long way we got to go around this a little bit just to get them on field, I swear. Let's just do... Why are you doing this? If this doesn't work, then I'm going to... Yeah, it should work now. Should work now, but let's just see. There we go. So we updated that, which means that's fine there. Stone, honestly, I'll just play him instead. No, I want Stone over Voss, because Voss is not a good player to have. So if Bailey Smith ends up playing, then I just change Corey Warner, flick Caleb Daniel back through and get that trade almost reversed to get not in. But if Bailey Smith does play, which it looks likely at this point, then Corey Warner to get Davidson on field, because that was electric. It's fine in Supercoach. I have him on field at F6 in Supercoach because I had Hall rather than Stone and Hewitt and stuff like that. I mean, I had the same guys. It was just Sanders on field kind of caused the difference there. Well, it did cause the difference there in having Davidson. He was absolutely electric. His cash generation is kind of crazy now. A 125. I mean, if we just do this, and I know that it's going to be off slightly, but and I'm just going to... Let's just go to the guys that actually have a formula rather than me trying to work it off my phone here. Let's just go to Davidson here and go to the formula, because this will be a much better outlook of what Davidson's going to do. He's done a 125 here. So he's going to go up 115k. And I actually think these are semi-realistic here. So if he goes 125 and then just goes 60-60, and let's just do this even in this way. Let's just do it in something like this, because then we don't have the... It's realistic to expect him to be 568k in a couple of weeks' time. And suddenly you've got him, you've got Nevitt, you've got Ashcroft, you've got Lindsay, you've got Corey Warner potentially for me. Let's just look at Warner's cash gen. I know he's on the buy, but let's just say he does something like this. Corey Warner in the same week will be 500k. And that's without, like, say he has a spike game because he's got North Melbourne. Say he has a spike game of an 83 or something like that. Then he's 528k. So you've got all these 500k guys suddenly. And this is when the cash gen starts to flow. So, yeah, this was a huge game and much needed for the cash gen, because we were really actually struggling, I would say, in terms of just the guys. And, yeah, you'll see moves this week, I think, in fantasy to set me up for cash generation back again. English actually did all right, but he's not that top tier ruck. It feels like he feels like that 90s guy, like Oscar McInerney, quality ruck, but just never really fantasy or Supercoach relevant, and that feels like English at the moment. Kennedy, he had an outstanding game, Supercoach wise, fantasy wise, 94. It's all right. I don't think he's been outstanding. If we just go to Kennedy here, let's just check. What is he averaging? He is averaging on the year 86, which is all right as a filler role, but not outstanding. Sanders basically had a stinker of a first quarter and then relied heavily on a big second quarter. I think it was like a 41 or so to get up to a decent total. He only had 10 CBAs out of 27, which is like a 35% roll or so. I think 10 out of 27. 10 divided by 27, yeah, 37% CBAs, but his second quarter, 8 touches, 2 marks, 3 tackles for a 41, and then 18-10 in the second half, and in the first quarter, a 4-pointer. I think he also got unlucky, missed out on, I think, a tackle or two that were not called, which probably should have been, and then also sat on the bench the last 5 minutes of the game, which was a very, very bold call. I think even though you had Richards, Libba, and Kennedy in the midfield, I think, for them. Am I missing someone else? Yeah, Richards, Kennedy, and Libba in the midfield. I think they should have probably had Sanders off a wing or half forward, just because he was getting he got, I think, 2 or 3 clearances in the last quarter alone. Off of 5 disposals in the last quarter, he had 4 contested possessions, and of that, he had 3 clearances. 3 out of his 5 possessions in the last quarter were clearances. In the third quarter, he had 8 disposals as well, so his disposals are up. He just needs non-disposal work, to be honest, at this point, and flipping that to handballs. In the third quarter, he had 2 clearances as well, and then in the second quarter as well, 8 disposals for no clearances actually, and 3 tackles. So I think he ended up one of the best clearances, 5 clearances for them, which is the second best. Yeah, second best for the Dogs, and they all came in the second half. So yeah, just showed how the role potential is there. He just needs to, if you flip that around and he gets an 83 there and lands another tackle or 2, that's suddenly a 91. And that's perfect for him. But it's kind of just a holding role at the moment. Not too disappointed, but not too big, I would say. But yeah, it is what it is at the moment. He's not immediate trade out because the role's still there and Bond's still a couple weeks away. O'Donnell, 64, he looked pretty good in the forward line. Fraser, aside from, I think it was a good clearance or something, he had something that really popped his Supercoach score, but he was pretty poor. Dale had that one moment which accounted for about 30 points in Supercoach, but he was horrific. His ball use was absolutely horrific. I forget who it was on him, but they just made him really work for it, and a lot of his points came from kick-ins. If we look, they had 9 shots that missed, and Dale took, I think, a good solid 4 or 5 kick-ins at least. Let me just check with Dale there for a second. Let's just check how many kick-ins did he have. He had 3 kick-ins, and I would say he scored about 15 points Supercoach-wise off kick-ins. And then basically no one else matters here. Dolan isn't going to be that fantasy scorer that we want, or Supercoach scorer, and Gallagher in the back line just doesn't really work. But yeah, in the end, the Bulldogs get the chocolates, beating Carlton, and we get the Davidson rookie score that we need. And it's actually been a really good start to the round for most players. I'm glad that I didn't go Fraser or Dale, because those were the obvious Perryman's moves. I felt like all the more... As in, how do I say this right? They were the easiest to get to, I feel like. Fraser was only like 40k downwards in fantasy and Supercoach as well. And Dale was only about 200k, 250k up. It was an easy rookie downgrade. Sorry, not a rookie, or a mid-pricer down to get to Dale. Whereas if you spent the extra cash, you could have easily gotten up to... someone else like a Zorko or Wangani Malera, Sinclair, someone like that really could have put it on. But anyway, that's the video. If you did enjoy it, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload. If you're listening on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating over there. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the Melbourne Gold Coast, St Kilda Richmond, and the Hawthorn GWS games. And then you will see on the Monday my team round reviews there, and then we'll get back into it. So yeah, we're all caught up, we're all on top of it, and yeah, these should come out in the timely manner, these game reviews. So I'll see you guys then. Bye guys.